Hi, Katzcradul here. At the end of the school year, when I cleaned out my preschool room, one of the things that needed to come home was this very large container of elbow macaroni. I used it for all sorts of things with my kids, from art activities to my sensory table where I would hide little items in there and they would have to dig through and find it. Anyway, it was a really big container. I've used it down over the summer. Here's what it looks like. Little hands have been all through it, so I would not, and it's a couple of years old, so I wouldn't use it for human consumption. But I had an idea, and Prepper A came in the kitchen a couple of weeks ago, and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm making mac and cheese for the chickens." She said, "What?" She said, "Why don't you make mac and cheese for us?" I said, "Well, you don't want this. This is really for the chickens." So I thought you'd get a kick out of me doing it. And here's how I made the batch this morning. When I went into the kitchen this morning, somebody had left a bowl on the counter. We had popcorn last night, and they know not to throw the little kernels out because I throw those to the chickens. So I just took that bowl that had the little popcorn holes and little bitty bits of popcorn seed, and I added 3 handfuls of the dry macaroni. And I have 3 little hens, so 3 handfuls is just perfect. This is how it looks in that bowl. You can see some of the popcorn kind of sticking through under there. And then the very next thing I do is use one of my favorite pieces of kitchen equipment, and it's this boiling water kettle, this electric kettle that I bought at Aldi's. I paid less than $10 for it, and I use that thing all the time. If you need boiling water in a hurry and don't want to heat up your kitchen, this thing is just ideal. So here's what the base looks like, the little electric base, and I've filled it up with water. And it only takes about 2 minutes for that water to boil. You can see that it's already jumping around in the kettle. It hadn't been 2 minutes yet. You'll hear the click, and the light will cut off. There you go, and now you have boiled water. And I'm just going to pour this over the elbow macaroni. I'll pour a little more than I think it will absorb. About this much. Shake it just a little bit. Then I just cover it with any dish towel I have handy, just to keep some of that steam in there, and let it sit for about 20 minutes. And after about 20 minutes, I come back and check it. I added a little more water because it had absorbed everything I put in there, and then I put a little bit too much. So that's not a problem. The noodles are soft. All I do is just drain that little bit of water off that I don't need. And then here's how I'm going to make the cheese part. You notice I have several canisters of Parmesan cheese there that have been in my food storage. And they have yellowed a good bit, and the flavor of them is really strong, and I don't find it pleasant. We tried it on spaghetti a couple of nights ago. It's really hard to keep Parmesan cheese, even if you vacuum seal it. The best way to do it is in the freezer. But here's some that I just had on the shelf, and I want to get rid of it, but I didn't want to waste it. So I just put it on that wet elbow macaroni and stir that up really good. And if there's a little bit of water in my container, that's not a bad thing, because that cheese will try to rehydrate a little bit and it begins sticking to that macaroni. And when I'm sure I've got it all stirred up well and all of the cheese is sticking to the macaroni, and it does look fairly disgusting, then I hand it to Paladin Prepper. He was outside today and I was working inside, so I let him take it to the chickens. And they love it. Watch this. It's a really hot day, so they're a little hesitant to come outside. They don't like it when it's really, really hot, but they love mac and cheese. They're coming out. Yep, there you have it. That's how things are done on our little farm. Nothing goes to waste. You old-timers know this, but for those of you who are new to having chickens and tending them, you just can't imagine how many things they will eat. And they don't mind that that macaroni is old, and they also don't mind that that cheese is getting a little stinky. They think it's delicious. And they'll eat it all up, and I'll finish using that bucket, and feel good about doing it and not having to throw that into the trash. So that's my tip for you. Give it to the chickens. Until next time, this is Cat's Cradle.